Welcome to Todd Talks, where I help you design your best life. Not the life that I designed for you, but the life that you desire. Today, I've got a special treat for you. I've got Kevin Palmieri, CEO of Next Level University and Global Top 100 podcaster. He is a coach, consultant, entrepreneur, multiple six-figure businesses, and we're going to talk about getting to the next level today, how you can get to your next level. So welcome, Kevin. Thank you for joining the show today. If you could just give a little brief history of where you came from, how you got to where you're at, and where you're going.
Yes.
So brief history, only 20 minutes, right?
No worries. I appreciate you having me on, Todd. It's a pleasure. I'm excited to chat today. So I was raised by my mom and my grandmother. And when all of my friends decided to go off to college after high school, I knew that wasn't for me. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want to do that. And I just kind of job hopped for a while. And I've always kind of been the type of person who I didn't always know what I wanted, but I always knew what I didn't. And that just kept me on the path of trying to figure out, what am I meant to do in this world? What is something that I will be passionate about, that I will enjoy, that won't feel like work? What is something bigger than me? So I started out with a podcast like everybody else. At the time, it was called the Hyper Conscious Podcast, because for most of my life, I felt like I was living unconsciously. What's the opposite of that? Hyper conscious. And that was the initial start of this entire business. And I just had deep conversations with people about things that mattered. And here we are 5 years later, 960 something episodes later. And now I'm blessed because I get to do this every single day. And this is my full-time job. But just like everybody else, I started with lack of clarity, lack of understanding, and just a hope for a brighter future. I think a lot of people start there.
Oh, absolutely. And now when I was reading your background, you were saying that you not only hit rock bottom, but you found there was a basement underneath rock bottom. Can you tell a little bit of that? Because I think that's one of the most important, fascinating parts about your story, is that you came from there to where you are now.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I was job hopping, and I eventually got this very good opportunity to go to a 2-week trade school where you're going to learn something called weatherization. So just think of it as making houses or buildings more energy efficient. So caulking around the windows, doing stuff in the attics, weather stripping, whatever it is. And I go through this course, it's 2 weeks, and we get to the end of it. And the lady who brought me in said, "Kev, we have this really good opportunity for you. You have a great attitude. You have a great work ethic. We're going to connect you with the best company here." And I said, "Okay, I don't know what any of this means, but I guess we'll see what happens." And she said, "The only downside of this job is you're not working on houses. You're actually working on big buildings, schools, fire stations, police departments, stuff like that. And there's a lot of travel required." And I said, "I'm just not interested in traveling. I don't want to do it. I like being home. I'm a homebody. I don't want to travel." And she said, "Well, really think about it, because you're going to make anywhere from $40 to $80 an hour." And I went, that's something there. Interesting. Okay. And that day I actually said, "Yeah, I'm good to do it. Let's do it." So I end up getting this job very by way of luck, which it seems. And for the next 3 years, I kind of worked my way up in that company. And I went from making $40 an hour on some jobs to 80 to 100. And I was doing really, really well for myself. And I was 25 years old, and I had a nice new sports car. My girlfriend was a model. I had a new apartment. I had just done a bodybuilding show, so I was in the best shape of my life. Quite literally, I had all the quote unquote things that you could ever think you wanted. But I wasn't of the growth mindset that I am today. And my girlfriend wanted to move across the country and chase her dreams. We lived on the East Coast. She wanted to go live in California. And I remember vividly, I gave her all these reasons, Todd. Nope, the gas price is too high. Housing prices are too high. Here's a list of, this is a list of reasons why you can't do it. And she ended up leaving me, which was the best thing in the world. And that's my initial rock bottom, where I had to look in the mirror. I had this big place to myself. My bills just doubled. Work had slowed down. So it was this perfect storm of overwhelm and a newfound understanding of self-awareness. So that was when I first started self-improvement. I had not read a personal development book before that. The first initial dive for me was when I was 26 years old. That's when I started learning. And yeah, so again, I want that to land for people because like I've only been doing this for 6 years, 7 years, right? A lot can happen in a short period of time. So when my girlfriend left, I had my week or so where I was just down in the dumps. And then I said, okay, we got to get our stuff together here. I said, all right, what can I do to be more positive? And I started with affirmations. Every night before I went to bed, I'd say, I'm handsome, I'm talented, I'm worthy, I'm intelligent. But I leaned on this last one, Todd. I am going to make the most money I've ever made this year. Because again, the beautiful girlfriend, fast car, body, I thought would bring me happiness. It didn't, but I thought maybe more money on top of all those things might. So the next year, my girlfriend left in October. That next year, I got a promotion to a foreman of the company I was working at. And being a foreman means you're on from the day the job starts until the day the job ends. And that's great because you're making a lot more money. So that year I lived in New Hampshire on the East Coast of the United States. And I worked in New Jersey. I worked in Delaware. I worked in Connecticut, New York. I was on the road for 10 out of the 12 months, every single week.
Terrible for a homebody.
It was brutal. It was brutal. I've learned a lot of lessons, but it was very, very challenging. But the thing is, my intention, my focus, my priority was to make a lot of money. So I was willing to do whatever it took to make that money. And that's, again, that's a theme in my life. But we get to the end of the year, Todd. I'm standing at my kitchen table because my girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend, had taken the chairs. They were her chairs and I was never home, so I didn't buy new ones. And I slide open that final pay stub. I made $100,000 at 26 with no college degree, but I had another one of those moments where nothing changed. I was still miserable. I was still unhappy. I was still insecure. That's when I started the podcast shortly thereafter. And for those who aren't podcasters out there, when you first start a podcast, it's like starting anything. It's kind of a passion project. And I'm having conversations with friends and I'm posting on social media. But I remember that when I started the podcast, I almost stopped caring about my job, quite literally overnight. I didn't care about the money. It was more resistant for me to travel. I started calling out. I'd leave the job early. I would be late at times. I just did not want to be there. And it got to the point, Todd, where I would have to be in New Jersey, which was 6 hours away from where I lived, at 7 in the morning to work. I would sleep in my bed from 9 p.m. until midnight. And I'd get up and I'd drive 6 hours, 6.5 hours. I'd work an 8-hour day. And then I would go to the gym after. And then Fridays were kind of the opposite. I just was up for days on end. It was pretty routine for me. It was brutal. It was brutal. And it just kept getting worse and it kept getting out of alignment more and more. And the morning that changed my life forever, I woke up in a hotel room in New Jersey and we were getting ready for work. My alarm goes off. I slide to the edge of the bed. I'm lacing up my work boots. My coworker is in the other bed in the room. And this isn't somebody I was super close with, but I remember thinking that it was like there was 10 televisions on in my head at the same time. And every single one was on a different station. And one was saying, you're stuck here forever. You can't leave this job, Kev. Too bad you want to, you can't. You're never going to make $100 an hour again. You got lucky to get this job. What will your friends think? What will your family think? But the loudest voice, the one that really drove me to the point of no return really was, do you really think you can be a successful podcaster? And in that moment, I didn't. I really didn't think I could. And my rock bottom basement moment was I felt that if I took my life, I would take my problems with me. And here I am 6 hours away from anybody who loves me, just delusional and really thinking bad things about hurting myself. Now, luckily, I had a very tight-knit group of people in my circle, and I texted my business partner, and he's the co-host and my business partner now. And I said, Alan, I don't know what's going on, man. I'm having these dark thoughts. I feel bad. I don't know what's going on. And he said, Kev, so much has changed for you over the past couple of years, but your environment hasn't changed very much. And I think it's time for you to change your environment. And 3 or 4 months later, I left my job and I went full time into what we're doing today. That's where many people's stories end. The next 3 years were the most difficult years of my life, building a business and being a broke entrepreneur, not being able to buy Christmas presents for my girlfriend, not being able to fix my car when it broke down and, stalled at red lights, the entrepreneurial stuff. But now here we are 5 years later, and I get to do this every single day, which I'm very grateful for. But I will not lie to you and say it was easy, because it's definitely been a challenge for sure.
Well, you know, we become who we are through the things that we've lived. And so I appreciate your story, and I think a lot of people will resonate with it, because I think there are a lot of people out there that are in a similar situation. They don't like what they're doing. They're telling themselves negative things all the time about themselves, about how they're stuck. They're never going to get out of the job that they hate, and because they have to survive, so they need to do it. And I think a lot of that is because we're afraid to move. We're afraid to move to the next level. We're afraid to ditch the old self for the new self. And I agree with what your friend and co-host said, that when you have moved mentally, improved, it's time to put the old life aside and move into a new life. One of the great quotes that I like is Jim Rohn, and he says that in order to become great, or in order to become a millionaire, you have to become a millionaire in your head first. You have to, in order to become the person that you want to become, you have to live it first. You have to change. In order for, and then his main quote is, in order for things to change, you must change. And so many people want things to change without changing themselves, or they change, but they don't change their environment. And so they get that dichotomy, that negative feeling of, I'm not where I belong.
Yeah. So many people ask me when I say that story, they say, was it hard for you to leave? And it's like, yeah, for sure. It was definitely challenging. I had leveraged myself in a way where I didn't have a lot of the circumstances that other people do. I didn't have kids. I didn't have a family. I didn't have a mortgage. So I always like to put that out there, is my journey is going to be different than yours for sure. But this is what I will say. We call it the pain pleasure pendulum. Okay. When you go all the way to hell no, all the way to sitting on the edge of a bed debating suicide, you're way more likely to go all in on hell yes. And I think that what happens is people go to work, and I've had these days too. People go to work on a Monday, and it is the worst work day they've ever had. You either make a decision on Monday, or Tuesday comes and it gets a little better. Wednesday's hump day, Thursday's almost Friday, Friday's Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday you're self-soothing and healing and partying or doing whatever it is that you do. Come Monday, the pain is not great enough for you to make that same decision. Now, obviously you can make emotional decisions too, but I think you really have to think about, where is the necessity, and is the necessity high enough for me to actually take what is probably the best chance or the best choice or the best decision for myself. You got to check in on necessity. A lot of us just don't have that necessity. We lose it. We lose the pain. We forget about the pain. Pain is definitely something that's very challenging, and a lot of people avoid it, and there's times to avoid it. But oftentimes pain is it's the highlight of, hey, just so you know, you should probably change your path here. You should probably change your course. And if you hide from that, you're hiding from the necessity too. And it's hard to do things without necessity, really.
Oh yeah. Necessity is the mother of all invention.
Yes.
And, you know, it's funny that you say that most people avoid pain. When I go to the chiropractor and or the physical therapist and get a therapeutic massage, it is not a comfortable thing, but my body needs it. It needs the pain in order to loosen up the muscles that are rock hard and tight from stress, from anxieties, from all the different physical things that I've had over the years that I'm coming out of, but my body still reacts. And so the pain actually helps improve the body, improve the life. And I think that's a great metaphor for life. The pain that we go through, if we allow it to, can heal us.
Yeah, 100%. It's what's your relationship with discomfort? I think that's the thing, is it's one of those things where, and this was my experience, my life was uncomfortable, but it wasn't necessarily uncomfortable enough to change. It wasn't uncomfortable enough for me to take some sort of brave, courageous decision. When I started podcasting, that gave me extra necessity of, look, I'm not gonna be able to do both of these things. I'm not gonna be able to grow a podcast and do this other thing. It gave me a new path. And the question was, how much are you willing to go all in on this? And I ended up going all the way all in, which not everybody should do off the bat. But yeah, it's, where is your necessity coming from? Where is your necessity coming from?
So what is the name of the podcast that you are currently doing so that viewers can look you up?
Yeah, we are currently doing Next Level University. That is our major thing. We do 7 episodes a week. We've done 962, I think, as of today. So that is the big part of our brand. Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's awesome. So what is the premise of Next Level University? We're going to dive a little more into this because I think this is a great topic.
Please.
But what is the overall premise? And then we'll get deeper into, I like asking hard questions. So
our overall premise, our through line is heart driven, but no BS, holistic self-improvement for dream chasers. There's a lot of people that talk about, getting in shape. Like, awesome. I love that. But I don't want to get in shape at the expense of my relationship or at the expense of my wallet. There's a lot of people who talk about love. Awesome. But I also want to accomplish financial goals and the body of my dreams. And there's not a lot of places to go for holistic achievement. And we realize that. And that's something that Alan and I have been working on for years. I mean, again, I had my dream relationship. I was in the best shape of my life and I was making the most money. It was not sustainable, but if I could do all of that sustainably, that's the life of my dreams. And I think that's the life of most people's dreams. So that is the through line, is we love every single one of our listeners. We do not have fans. We have family. I say that at the end of every single episode, but I love you so much that I'm going to tell you the actual truth, the heart driven, but no BS truth on, look, this is what it's going to take for you to succeed at the level you want. These are the questions to ask yourself. These are the conversations you're going to have with yourself. And it's all based on what we've done. Obviously, run it through the filter of your own experiences, but we promise to be truthful. We promise to be real. And we promise to try to always improve as men, as human beings first. That's always our biggest goal, is character over everything.
Well, and that's the best kind of coaching to receive.
Yes.
There's a lot of coaches out there that try to play the, win friends and influence people game, and it comes across as good, but it's not great because you're not getting to the root of the problem. I love that no BS filter coaching, because you're getting to the root of the problem. Telling people like it is. Yeah. I'm military, so I like no BS. Just give it to me straight so that we can figure it out.
Yeah.
So, have you ever heard of the Lion's Den? Sean Whalen, Lion's Den?
I've heard of the Lion's Den, but I don't think it's the same one. I'm thinking more of like a mixed martial arts.
Yeah, well, Sean Whalen, he has a networking group called the Lion's Den, and he's a big podcaster, motivational speaker, etc. And he talks about the core 4: passion, purpose, power, which is your physical fitness, and finances. So, which is production. So passion is your relationships. You have to go all in on your relationships. Power, you have to go all in on your health, on your body, getting physically fit, mentally fit. Purpose, you need to know why you're here, and you have to go all in on that. And then production, how you build your finances, how you build your financial wealth. And so that goes right along with what you were saying. You have to kind of have those 4 pillars. If anything is misaligned in those 4, then you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be satisfied. Something's off because, your purpose, your spirituality, your need for helping others, your passion, your relationships. If any of those are off, you're going to feel out of place.
Yeah.
And so how do you coach people? What do you recommend to somebody that is that is out of place, feels out of touch, has something off kilter, where do you have them start?
Yeah, it's always the root. I mean, we always start with identity. I think what you get from a lot of personal development is it's either the top of like what they say. It's not the depths of what they actually do, what they did to get the results in their life, but it's so dependent on what you've been through in your life. I did a coaching call with somebody recently, and I said, what are your long-term goals? And she said, these are the things. And I said, awesome. I want to go through the 3 different versions of your identity: your past identity, your current identity, and your future identity. Who were you before today? I was an addict. I was this. All right. Who are you today? I am this. All right. Who do you need to become in order to have the life, not only attract and succeed with the life that you want, but to maintain it and sustain it? There's a big difference between getting and then keeping. Huge difference. Who do you have to become in order to do that? All these things. I said, okay, now look at how close the who you used to be and who you are is. It's very close. That's okay. That's good. That means you're making progress in the right direction. But there's a pretty good sized delta between who we are today and who we want to be. Awesome. That's good. That means your goals are stretch goals. They're not based on, well, I want to lose 5 pounds this year. It's like, maybe that's a stretch goal for some people, but for other people, that's something you could do in a couple months. So we always try to start at the root. Your identity is the reason you're getting the results that you're getting. It's not, it's your habits, but your habits are based on your identity. Your behaviors are based on your identity. I think the root cause of human interaction, human productivity, human behavior is your identity. If you're not the type of person who speaks out, you're probably not going to be a professional speaker. If you're shy, that's your identity. You're probably not going to be a professional speaker or a coach or a podcaster. If you're not smart, that's something I dealt with, and I felt that for a long time. What are the odds you're going to jump on a podcast and start talking about how to get better? It all starts with the core of your identity and who you believe you are as a human being. And then you kind of go from there on habits, behaviors, community, clarity, all that other stuff as well.
So let's dive into this identity a little bit, because what I agree with what you said, that if you're not smart, you're not going to hop on the podcast, et cetera, et cetera. But who's telling you that you're not smart? Who's telling you that you're shy? Who's telling you? Where does that come from? Because we often lie to ourselves. And the identity that we have, that we tell ourselves that we are, I don't think is truly who we are. It's who we're presenting or who we're telling, but our identity, I think, can be that a person that we want to become, but we just haven't gotten there yet. And so how do you get through to somebody that's lying to themselves? Like you said, you didn't feel smart, but you probably were smart in many different areas. Yeah. So how do you get to somebody to see through the lies that they tell themselves? Yeah, so the first thing, and you kind of mentioned this and you hit it spot on. I think your identity is the behaviors that you practice most often. You could be the best snowboarder in the world. If you only take the same blue square every time down the mountain, you're going to think that's all you can do. You're never going to think you're a black diamond snowboarder or skier if you don't try that path at least once. Right. It's always this for me. Okay, where did that thought originally come from? Where did the thought that you're shy originally come from? Who told you that? Because you didn't wake up one day and say, I am shy. I've decided that I'm going to be shy for the rest of my life. It doesn't happen. So this is always my frame for people when I talk to them. I say, I really want you to really, really picture this. Really imagine this as you and your human experience. When you are born, you are a seed. And you are born into soil that you have no control over, unfortunately. Or sometimes fortunately, depending on, what happens. And the soil around you is creating the plant that you're about to become. You don't have any choice over that. Now, fast forward 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and you start learning all this stuff. How to win friends and influence people, the compound effect, all these different things. You're learning so many things, but it doesn't seem to be landing for some reason. It's just my life isn't changing the way I thought it would. I know all this stuff,
but it's not working. Here's the problem. You're taking all of this nutritious soil and you're pouring it onto what is potentially and often toxic soil. It's not getting to the seed of who you really are as a human being. That is where it all comes in is, okay, why do you think you became this way? Well, I noticed that I'm afraid to post on social media because when I was younger, I would come home with paintings from art class and my parents would always crap on them and they'd always rip them up. Oh, okay. What happened next? Well, I had this opportunity to go do an art class and I ended up turning it down because I really figured I'm not the type of person who's an artist. Oh, okay. And then that becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy of I don't do things because I'm not that type of person. Even though I wasn't a podcaster at the beginning either, I just started talking into a microphone and here we are 900 episodes later and we figured it out. So it's always asking that question, where did this thought, where did this seed, where did this belief, where did this identity come from? It's not yours. It's usually not yours. It's just based on the proof that you have. And it's almost like if you walk up to a locked door that says outgoing, and you walk up to the locked door and it's locked and you turn it and you can't get it open, that becomes a closed off environment. I'm not outgoing. And then you don't take any of the other doors that appear because you assume they'll be locked. And I think that's just how our identities are created. And they're shifted when somebody comes to you and says, Todd, what do you mean you can't speak? Like I just witnessed you speak. I just witnessed you talk to your family. You did a great job. Why can't you speak in front of people? Oh, when I was younger, this happened. Oh, what if that's not true? What if that's just the way you're conditioned now?
And I think conditioning has a lot to it. You actually covered exactly my thought in asking the question, because I remember a story Proctor Gallagher tells about a girl that with a beautiful singing voice, 10 years old, sings all the time. And her mom comes home from her job tired, just wants to sleep, and tells her, stop that awful racket. You can't sing a note. And the girl never sings again because she tells herself that she can't sing. And it goes 20 years. And when somebody asks her, hey, do you sing? No, I'm a terrible singer. I can't sing a note. And she doesn't even remember, but that when she went through hypnosis or whatever, they went back and figured out that it was that instance where she was told, one instance told, and she took that as part of her identity. Because we're conditioned by our environment to a lot of identities that aren't necessarily true, but we take them to be true. And so the cool part about it is those identities can be changed. Those conditions can be changed. And so my next question obviously is, how do we change the condition?
It starts with asking the right questions. It starts with self-awareness. It starts with digging into your past. I think that so many of us try to run from our past. And you can't, it's attached to you. You can't outrun it. What you can do is change the filter in which it looks from your perspective. But I think you just have to either have the tough conversations with the people from your past that had that impact on you, do some meditation, go to therapy, go to a counselor. You have to have somebody ask you the questions of, why do you think you're like that? Or why do you think you present yourself in that way? This is Todd, this is the best example I can use. And it's a personal one, so I know it's real. For most of my life, and you'll see this, I already told my story, I value money in a very, very, very high regard. I love money. I like nice things. I just do. That's who I am. Why? Right? There's my identity. That's who I am. Why? When I was younger, I was up to the plate. Bases were loaded in Little League. I think I was 10 years old. My mom was behind the backstop. She said, Kev, if you hit a home run, I'll give you a $100 bill. Next pitch, hit a grand slam. That became do good, get money, be happy. And there was a bunch of one time my mom gave me $100 to make her bed. We were not wealthy. This was reckless. She should not have been giving me $100 bills. I'm grateful she did, because it now is one of my strengths is earning money now. But that's because I became aware of it. I remember having a conversation with Alan one time, and he was like, why do you always spend money as fast as you earn it? And we went through this. That was the question that helped me shift my identity. Well, when I was younger, I got rewarded with money. I was always rewarded with money. And I don't think I ever really learned the importance of it because, you know, throwing $100 to somebody who just hit a home run is kind of reckless behavior if you understand money and the flow in and the flow out when you're not making a lot of it. That became a giant part of my identity. Now, I have used that identity to become a better person with money, and I am the CFO of our company. I am in the books every day. I do the financial reports. My love for money under my control is a superpower. My love for money with a false identity can be a long-term detriment. But it all starts with you reflecting upon your past, your experiences, and how they impacted you. And that usually starts by asking a question. I think that, I don't know if it's in Dean Graziosi's book, The 7 Whys. Ask yourself a question, answer it, and then say why. Why? And if you get 7 layers deep, theoretically, they say you get to the truth. I don't know that that's, you know, obviously across the board. You will get some sort of self-awareness and deeper understanding of yourself. Keep asking why. There's always another layer, always.
Well, little kids do that all the time.
Yep.
Why? Because they want to know. They don't have the layers to know. So we're creating that.
Yeah.
And for us that have multiple layers upon multiple layers, heck, I'm almost 50. I'm 47 years old. I've got layers upon layers upon layers. But asking why really helps you get to the root. That's one of the things that we teach I was a flight instructor. And so when somebody is having problems with certain maneuvers or with something sticking, we would ask why until we got to the root cause. What was the actual root cause? And it usually wasn't the actual hand-eye coordination thing. It was something else that was causing the student to disbelieve that they could do that hand-eye coordination thing. And then because they didn't believe it, when it came time to perform, they wouldn't perform because they didn't believe that they could. Once we got rid of that limiting belief, that self-doubt, suddenly their flying improved.
Yeah.
And, you know, we would take a student from no time ever in the air to doing loops, rolls, all the aerobatics you can think of, to flying 10 feet away from another airplane through massive maneuvers in 6 months. And because human beings are so teachable if they're open-minded.
Yeah. There's such a big difference between the diagnosis and the symptoms. The symptoms may come up as this. The diagnosis is you were talked down to when you were 5 years old. That's why you have these limiting beliefs. And it's just that, you know, there's a lot that you can do and there's a lot that you can learn, but I believe unlearning is just as, if not more important than learning, because at least when you unlearn certain things, you allow the nutrients to get down to the seed of who you are as a human being. And that's really the only way to maximize who you are, is to figure out who you actually are. Who are you really? Who would you have been if you didn't have any of these potentially negative influences? Now, you may not have positive influences either, and there's layers to that as well, but I think you just have to understand, if that person who told you couldn't do it wasn't in your life, where do you think you would be and why?
Oh yeah. And unlearning is so important, because not only can you get down to who you are, but also you can take something that you've learned badly, unlearn it, and learn a new skill in its place. And so many times I've heard somebody say, you know, well, that's just the way I do things. Okay, well, unlearn it and learn a new way of doing it. That way is not serving you. That way isn't working for you. But that's just the way I do it. Why? Why is that the way you do it? Unlearn it. And then change. And I've seen people change. You know, it's amazing. Sometimes it takes a long time for people to get to the point where they're ready to change. Sometimes they have to hit the basement underneath rock bottom to change. Hopefully, our listeners don't have to hit the basement underneath rock bottom, because that's a scary place to be.
The scariest. It's the scariest. That's the thing is, I had a lot of whispers like, you're not doing the right thing. You'd be happier for your podcast. There was a lot of whispers of, hey, you got to stop pushing your mental health away. Hey, you probably should have some positive relationships in your life. There were whispers. And those whispers eventually become scream. And if you can catch those whispers when they're just a little bit of necessity, it's one of those things of people make drastic changes when they get drastic diagnoses. So you go to the doctor and they say, hey, you just had a heart attack. Oh my goodness, massive pain, massive necessity. I must change everything. Okay, but how do we avoid you getting to that part? I think that you have to try to not only look into your past, you have to look into your future. Very, very challenging. They've done studies on this. It's very, very challenging. But if your behavior does not change, what results will you get in the next 2, 5, 10 years? Very hard. It's very hard to do that. But that's another question. Why? Where are you going to be in 10 years? Well, I'm going to be a multimillionaire. Why? Well, I don't know. Okay, that's probably not what's going to happen, right? Are you going to be in the best shape of your life in 10 years? Maybe. Why? Oh, because I'm focused on fitness. So I think looking into your past is unreasonably important, but trying to do a prediction of your future is also something that can help you create necessity and figure out if you're actually on pace for what you want.
Yeah, I mean, we need to look into our past so that we can let it go. We need to look into our future to know where we want to go. And then we need to look at what we're doing now to see if we're going to get there.
Yep.
And one of the things I wanted to point out, I just remembered from what we were talking about, is the diagnosis. Our brain is so powerful. There have been so many studies about this, that you can be given a diagnosis and believe it and have all the symptoms of it, and it be a completely false diagnosis. Also, you can be given the diagnosis and do everything, even though a doctor says you're gonna, you've got cancer, you're gonna die in 6 months. You've got people that 18 years later are still alive and kicking because they refuse to accept that diagnosis as an end. But so many people, they get a diagnosis and they immediately start showing symptoms, whether it's medical, whether it's physical, whether it's financial, whether it's smart. For Les Brown, he always tells the story that he was diagnosed as the dumb twin. And so he couldn't learn, and he'd told his math teacher, I can't learn that, I can't. And the math teacher is like, don't ever accept anybody's diagnosis of your personality. You figure it out yourself, but don't let anybody tell you who you are and what you can become. He was the dumb twin. Now he's a multimillionaire motivational speaker. I think the diagnosis was wrong. Yeah. And so whenever anybody gives you a diagnosis, you have to ask, why are they giving it to me? Now, if it's a medical condition that they did, okay, scientific tests, we did this, this, and this, that's one thing. If it's a condition about your personality or your identity, start asking why a lot.
Yeah. There's a great book, I'm sure maybe you've read it, The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. It's all about that.
I've not read that one.
It's a really good one, Todd. All about that. It's all about the scientific proof behind, if you believe in something, it's more likely to happen and or not happen. There, people out there that say, I'm always sick. I can't shake this. It's like, well, you're more than likely going to be sick next time I talk to you. I've seen it with people. I've just seen it. I know that I had anxiety for a while, and that's part of my story as well. And every time I start to feel it, I always just say, this isn't real. It's not real. This is your mind. This isn't a real thing. Like, nothing is actually happening. It's just your mind. And I have had such less anxiety over the past couple of years. Now, again, that takes a level of practice and a level of discipline and a level of awareness. It takes a lot of different things, but you got to start somewhere. Just start. And will it happen overnight? No, nothing we talk about is going to happen overnight. That's the beauty of it, is time always tells the truth. Time always tells the truth, eventually.
Yeah, I love it, because where you're going will not necessarily be the direction you think, because you may have a goal to go here, but if your steps are taking you over here, you're not going to get to your goal. You're going to get someplace else. So looking at what we're doing now as we look towards the future is very important. Like you said, I think it's difficult to forecast out, what am I doing now? How is that going to end up in the future?
Yeah.
And then one of the best talks I heard about how to get to that future talks about, okay, so you have your goal, you have your future goal, break it down backwards, reverse engineer it down to the yearly, monthly, weekly, daily, hourly, if need be. What do I need to do today the steps that will eventually get me to that goal, and then start working forwards after you've broken it down backwards.
Yep.
What most of us do is we have a goal and we don't bother breaking it down. We just say, I'm going to get that. And then we take steps that go off in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So
that is
next. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, Todd, that is quite literally how Alan and I live our lives. I do 20 things a day, every single day, the same 20 things based on the most successful podcast in history in the personal development, self-improvement industry. That's it. And Alan came up with that. Alan's a genius. I mean, he's an engineer, all right, and an engineer, and he understands math and numbers at a deep level. So he was like, yeah, we just got to reverse engineer the finish line. That's all. It's like, all right, man, easy enough. But for you out there, that's all it is. Exactly what Todd just said. Imagine three things: health, wealth, and love. What are two things you can do a day under each? Under health, track your calories and weigh yourself. I guarantee if you do that for a year, every day, something's going to change. I guarantee it. It has to, because you're doing new behaviors. Under wealth, track your finances every day. You should know exactly how much money you're making and how much you're spending, and then eliminate non-essentials. A $3 coffee 5 times a week is $15 a week. That adds up. That is a lot of money over time. And then when it comes to love, whether it's self-love, positive affirmations, or every night before you go to bed, say something to your partner and say, I am grateful for this thing about you. I guarantee your relationship looks different. It's just those little things, but we make it into that big mountain. I mean, how long would that take you every day? It'd take you 15 minutes to do all those things. We all have 15 minutes to improve our lives over the next couple of years.
And yet we don't do it.
Yeah.
We always think, well, I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. And just interesting you said that about the physical fitness. My wife and I made one small change back in December. We cut sugar and flour out of our diet. Okay? To some, it may seem drastic, but for us, we're doing it. It's not hard anymore at all. Don't even think about it. We've each lost over 30 pounds.
Yeah.
Just by doing that. And so, yeah, little things done daily can make massive changes.
100%.
So now how can someone can get on the podcast, but I noticed that you have courses that you offer. What are some of the courses that you offer that people might be interested in getting onto or getting involved in?
Yeah. So right now we're repackaging our last live event into a course, but we have one that's out there right now. It's the 5 C's is what we call it. And it's totally free. It's a completely free course. And it's an hour and a half of 4K video, Alan and I in the studio. So we tend to overdo things. We want to give as much value as humanly possible, but it's clarity, it's confidence, it's consistency, it's commitment, and it's community. If you break those 5 fundamental C's down, those are really the pillars of human performance and human success and human achievement. So we thought, okay, what are the things that we've learned over the last 5 years that can really help people? Let's throw it into a video format. Let's make an online course and let's give it away to our audience and anybody who wants it. At the end of the day, we just want to add value. And yeah, we have a business and we have to make money and all that, but we just want to make the world a better place. And I think that if personal development, self-awareness, self-improvement was not only more acceptable, well, I'll say this, not only more accessible, but more acceptable, I think the world would be a better place. It's not a bad thing to work on yourself. It will never be a bad thing to work on you. You are the catalyst for everything that happens in your life.
Why do you think the world derides people that are into self-improvement?
I don't know. I think it's still somewhat rare. I know we had one of our team members fly down to Florida for one of our speeches, and her family literally said, "Be careful. It sounds like this is a cult." It's like, we are the first. I don't understand, but I just think it's lack of awareness, Todd. I think, I'm sure we've all seen something on TV and it's like, oh, interesting. This must be like this. And we just don't have the awareness to understand that some people are doing this for reasons greater than themselves. Lack of awareness. That's usually the pain point for misunderstandings, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. Makes absolute sense. My brain went blank. Happens occasionally.
Of course. When you get on the microphone, it's bound to happen. I mean, I think this is what you've done over 100 episodes, I believe, right?
This is episode, I think this will be 110.
Yeah, so that's part of the, if that's the worst problem you come across, that's a pretty darn good day, I would say.
I love doing this. Have I made any money at it? No, it's a passion project. It's been a passion project. Do I eventually want to build it into a 6-figure business? Absolutely. But my goal is to help as many people as possible, design the life that they want. So, I love your premise. I'm just pulling up your thing where it says, when you're clear, you're committed, you're confident, you're consistent, and you have a supportive community. What kind of community do you have set up to help people? Because I know you have community. You said they're family. How do people join your family?
Yeah, the number one way is we have a private Facebook group that gets posted in every single day. There is zero negativity. We have booted people. We don't do the judgment. We're not going to laugh at people. We don't do that. Like, you can go. We're not about that. So that's the number one thing. But I think the other thing, Todd, is anybody who ever DMs me, like, I'll just send them a video. I'll send them an audio. I just want to be a real human being who has real conversations. So Alan and I want what's best for people. I don't really care who you were. I care about who you are, but I care more about who you want to become. And I'll do quite literally anything I can within reason, obviously, to help you achieve that. It lights me up to be able to help people. So we're very protective over the people in our community, because I know sometimes they get made fun of in their real lives for being who they really want to be. And Alan and I are leading the charge of that, of, look, we've been made fun of too, but nobody makes fun of you when you make it. When you're quote unquote successful, everybody's like, oh, how'd you do that? The stuff that we've been saying for the last 5 years, that's how we did it when everybody was laughing at us. So we use that pain and we use the stuff that we've experienced to make a safe environment for people. So the Facebook group, whether it's that or whether you join our live podcast, or we have group coaching and we have virtual live events that we do every month that it's totally free. We have so many free things that if you want to find value, there is some. If you want to pay, there's places for you too, but it always starts for free. No matter where you are, there's a next level, whether it's your own self-improvement, your own personal development, or the amount of value we can deliver, whether it's free or paid. We always want there to be a place for you to land.
That's awesome. I think we're on the same wavelength as far as we want people to have the life that they want. We want them to create a life, not just be an extra in the movie of their life. We want them to be the main actor and create the life that they want, the director of their life story.
100%.
And so I totally agree with you. I appreciate what you're doing. I think it's awesome.
Thank you, Todd. I appreciate it. I knew when we started talking, I was like, oh, this is going to be a good one. I feel the same. I can sense the energy. So I appreciate it.
Well, that's cool. So one last main question, I guess, before we sign off. Consistency. It's something that everybody, myself included, struggles with. What would you say are your top 3 recommendations for becoming consistent? Because we all struggle with it.
I would say number 1, create necessity. So there's a big difference between going for a run every day and signing up for a marathon. If you have a marathon in 20 weeks, you're going to run more consistently than if you didn't. So there has to be some sort of either light, pot of gold, or alligator pit at the end of the tunnel, because if there's not, you won't be willing to do what it takes. And I would put this second thing as number 2 and number 3, accountability. So there are 16 people on our team, on the Next Level U team. We have a dashboard where everybody can see every single habit I do and whether or not I've done it. I would love to say to you, Todd, I am the most consistent person because I want to be. I don't do 20 things a day because I want to. I do 20 things a day because everybody can see. And that just is the honest truth, no ego. You are more consistent when other people can see what you're doing. You just are. If somebody's waiting for you at the gym, it's way harder for you not to go. You have to,
absolutely.
Right? It just is. You have to find some sort of accountability, whether it's a peak performance partner. We have an app that we're creating that will have that built in, whether it's a coach, whether it's a Facebook group. Find some sort of accountability where you can say at the end of the day, hey, Todd, did you post that episode? I did, Kev. Did you do your meditation today? I did. All right. Thanks, man. Talk to you tomorrow. That will change your life because you don't want to let other people down. We're really good. Human beings are really good at letting themselves down, myself included. But we are not always good at letting other people down. Most of us are obligers by nature. We want to make other people feel good. We want to take care of other people. We want to support other people. Find a peak performance partner, a coach, or a community that helps you stay accountable. Accountability is such an important thing. We did an episode on it recently. That is the number one way to stay consistent. Build in accountability.
I 100% agree. It's one of the reasons I became a coach and a consultant because accountability partners have been so important for me. And I want to be able to give that and be that accountability partner for somebody that's trying to change. And so that I 100% agree. Couldn't ring that bell, make it that is one of the most important things people can do.
I agree.
So thank you so much for your time.
Of course, Todd. I appreciate you having me.
Please make sure to send me your email address and I'll send you all the links for the episode.
Right on.
This episode will release next Tuesday.
Okay.
So that gives me some time to get in there and make it perfect. So
I dig it.
I release episodes on Tuesday and Thursday. I still have a full-time job, so I don't release episodes every day.
You shouldn't. I'm telling you, it's a whole thing, Todd. It's a whole thing. I mean, eventually, if you want to do this full time, yeah, but 2 episodes a week is good. And making it over 100 episodes, you are in the 1% of the 1%. Most people do not get there. So that's awesome.
It's a passion project. Like you, I want to help as many people as possible.
I dig it.
So thank you for coming on.
Of course.
And I'm going to just close it with, this is Todd Talks, where we help you design your best life. Not the life we design, but the life you desire. Todd Talks are available on Apple, Spotify, everywhere you listen to podcasts. If you want to learn more about Kevin Palmieri and his Next Level University, the link will be in the show notes so that you can have the opportunity to go coach with Kevin, come coach with me, your choice. We're here to help. And as always, have a blessed day.